Hi, friends. Welcome to Soaring Through Chaos, another episode. And the reason we do this is because we are in the midst of perhaps the largest thing that has affected us in our lifetime as a collective. And it comes with a lot of potential challenges from health and happiness of our loved ones to the risk of not getting enough work or finding enough satisfaction in day to day life, anxiety, and the divisiveness that has come about, finger pointing, and all that. And amid all this, there's always people who give me rays of hope. Krista Bluesmith has been a ray of hope for me over the last 12 years. We met in Santa Cruz about when we were talking about the role of dance and music in healing. Krista, tell us about your journey. You've been a healer forever, that I remember.
Well, to be a healer, usually it comes along with a lot of suffering beforehand.
That's
hopefully
true.
not, hopefully not for everyone. But yeah, life is a recipe of refinement. It's constantly trying to open more to love and more to compassion and more to the depth of experience that comes as the reward of doing the work. So I thought, Shankar, I was hoping I could sing a song to bring us into a meditation to start.
Yes, yes, you've always done that. You've always brought your music and you take us to the depths of our hearts and then open it up to be able to soar.
Oh, so I just wanted to use this opportunity, as in life we have every moment. My friend Missy Galore said every breath is a cosmic hug. That's what I'm finding so poignant, is the point of choice is that we can use our life as a living prayer for all beings. And of course, we're going to get derailed off of that. So this meditation with this song is about a tree. So we're going to imagine a tree. We're imagining we have roots deep in the ground, and that beneath us there's just like a love radiating up through us. So we'll start there. I just keep growing like a tree, opening my leaves for the sun to nourish me. I just keep reaching to the ground, opening my roots to love so profound. I just keep knowing I am strong, reaching to the sun every day that comes along. I just keep drinking in the rain when it comes around. No, it'll come around again. I just keep reaching to the light, knowing who I am, for the fruit is my flight. I just keep knowing who we are, knowing we were made from the light of sacred stars. I just keep knowing who we are, knowing we were made from the light of sacred stars. Little tree song. Little tree song.
Wow, wow.
Excited to be here.
Krista, that is so amazing. I feel like I'm rooted, totally rooted in love, rooted in kindness, rooted in forgiveness, rooted in simplicity. And that's what the world needs now to heal. We are so out there and jumping and finger pointing, anything that brings us back to our roots and then to sprout. That's amazing. So tell me, were you always like this? Because ever since I've met you, you've been in this spirit of joy and surrender and sharing. But was your life always so rooted from the beginning, or were there shifts that you went through? And
yeah, I've been through a lot in my life. I've been through I've been through an eating disorder. I've been through rheumatoid arthritis, having a pretty intense disease where I was told that I wasn't going to be able to walk or dance by the time I was 40. I've had, anxiety problems. I've really gained, I think, a tool belt for a really pretty wide range of sorrows, and of course we're all digesting the sorrows of the ages.
how about COVID? Has anything changed since the time the pandemic began?
So, this is a really special time in history. We're able to look over the landscape of everything as we never have before. And create cohesive action like we never have before. And yet we have, the stress of knowing individually that if the right recipe happened, we can act collectively as a globe for the betterment of all. And the agony of the climate crisis. Now we have the added layer of the pandemic, people around us disagreeing, the presidential race, the increase of information causing more confusion, and now a kind of a clash that is coming down between Democrats and Republicans. We just had big fires. What a worthy topic, Shankar, that you're bringing people together to share their tools in their tool belt and their magic in their magic backpack. I'm going to recommend looking into Carolyn Casey, Joanna Macy, Emma Kett, a friend that teaches shamanic dreaming and beautiful, magical, mystical practices. But yeah, I think even just starting with movement and dance, we have these spiritual technologies, and I'm going to call them technologies because people pay attention to technologies, and they truly are. You can look into Joe Dispenza, who teaches amazing visualization practices. Yeah, at this particular time, it's incredibly challenging, and I don't think anyone is really. We can really expect that anyone's going to soar through the chaos that's happening right now because, the Dalai Lama was saying, about anger. I remember a story about someone asked him if someone should be angry or sad when their house burned down. And he said something like, well, the appropriate response is to just fully feel, feel the sadness, feel the grief, and by not repressing the emotion, you can move through it. But paradoxically, you don't want to wallow in those emotions. So I think we need to be love ninjas right now. We can just do those tools that know work, the tried and true things, whether that's exercising, just walking, meditating, taking in beauty, waking up in the morning and saying thank you for your love, trying to be impeccable with our word, and allowing ourselves to be feeling the grief. Comedy, I think just having faith, and if you're losing hope, praying for hope, just asking the Creator, that's the way that I pray, to come in and fill you with hope. And then, going to the ocean. And I think there's wonderful things to be said about doing strong practices, bringing ritual practices, even, bringing flowers to the ocean or making an altar for things that you want to pray for, looking at the stars, stargazing, gazing at the sunset, getting essential oils, spraying yourself down with them, breathing in. You can say mantras. You can just find what you're attracted to. I think that would be my best advice for soaring through chaos. I'm trying a lot to minimize the drama, and it's hard because I want to engage online, and I want to say what my opinion is about things, being horrified about things that are happening right now. And at the same time, I have to be careful not to let my emotional body get too wrapped up, and it happens. But how do we find our center again after being pulled into these very, very intense and legitimate concerns about the world, about our future as America, about, and if you don't have those tried and true practices to help you move through the heavy energy to try new things, shaking is a great thing, just shaking, spending time with children, eating slowly. Don't forget to get out of town and take a vacation if you can, even though it might seem like a hard time to do that.
What have you been up to lately? We haven't met in like 4 years, I think, isn't it? It's been a while because I've been just busy traveling around the world, primarily in India. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
you're still in Santa Cruz and Still Santa
I am.
Cruzing?
During COVID, I've been working on some long-term projects, short-term projects. I wrote a film called Aliens in the Time of COVID that I entered into a competition and did not get, it didn't get chosen. But so I've been up to that, and I'm going to grad school so that I can learn more about history, going to Harvard online, getting a master's in history. I've just been working on my album and working on these screenwriting projects.
I always see you as an angel who's always trying out different angles to help people see different perspectives. I know Santa Cruz has been through a lot. There were fires in your neighborhood just this week, isn't it? And of course, the sometimes the denial of the pandemic and then the extreme fear and everything. How have you been managing your life and your work during the pandemic?
Well, it's definitely difficult to, process all of that that happened and is happening. For me, I'm going to school. I also make video memoirs for elders. Family Video Memoirs is the name of my company. I interview mostly elders to talk about their lives and record them kind of like this. So
I remember that. That is amazing. Even the concept and the clarity you had. I remember one fine day you came and said that there's a need to preserve the legacy and really bring it out alive. And it's not just pictures. Now we need videos. Now we need more things and better, audiovisual, maybe sometime soon in 3D, But that's such an amazing thing to do, to be able to preserve somebody's life and have it for legacy, have it for friends and family to see.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how life has changed for you once you got into these practices.
Well, the first one, how we met, is ecstatic dance. And
Yes.
I think it's the single most underestimated kind of natural medicine that we have generally. We have dance moves that we do, and usually people are limited. You have certain patterns of movement, right? And so there was a revolution in dance, and I don't know exactly what year it was sometime in the early 70s. Gabriel Roth was developed a system called 5 Rhythms. And 5 Rhythms basically tries to break your habitual patterns of dance and not think about how other people are perceiving what your movement which is the main filter that you're trying to undo. It's to unlock, like, how does my body want to move? I'm going to give my body permission to just unravel. I'm just going to give my body permission to do what it wants to do, roll on the ground and make noise. And it might seem simple, but so that was a pivotal moment for me in college. I had a teacher named Linwood who taught 5 Rhythms. And then I traveled to Central America, Guatemala, when I was like 20. And I was like, wow, there's a whole world out here. My goodness. I became aware of poverty, not just poverty, but the beauty and the challenges and the diversity of experience that people outside of the US are having. And I started to think, well, there's more to life than musical theater. Hey, what about that? And so now my biggest prayer, and I think for all of us, and I was going to talk about Joseph Campbell, one of Joseph Campbell's things that he encourages people to do is look at life through the eyes of a hero, look at life as a hero's journey. And global education, I guess, would be the thing I'm trying to do, is educational entertainment. We have so many problems in the world. It's really hard. Like, everywhere you look, there's a different type of a problem. So, I think us as citizens of the world in general, it's like, where's the unifying force that's helping to solve these problems? And we're counting on these international organizations, and we, finally come together and we make an agreement, the Paris Accord, we're going to attack these problems, whatever. And then another president gets in, and then that dissolves, or, as individuals, that's very emotionally troubling, right? To not know how to help, maybe, as much as we would like to just be able to know that there's someone at the wheel, right? And so that's why I think it's so important to refine our consciousness, and we have to rely on these spiritual traditions of strength, because it's like that almighty, all-knowing God that was supposed to be in charge, that this whole thing is supposed to end in a good way, right?
Yeah,
It's all supposed to work out.
the Disney way. Well,
And we're living a movie,
yeah, we are living a movie. In fact, we have to remind ourselves what's the part we are playing, and is that what we really want to play? You remind me of so many things. My spiritual journey began with mindfulness, but it was very difficult for me to sit for long hours. So I Googled on a dance with no steps, and I found five rhythms in Mountain View with Claire Alexander. And then, of course, I met, after about 5 years, I met Gabrielle Roth. But
Oh,
within a few years, it was her time to pass. And I was like, who is this person, Gabrielle? I had read her Maps to Ecstasy book, and it turned out that I shared my birthday with her. I found out right after she passed that, and I felt like you and I and others have this great responsibility of continuing the dance of life together. We cannot just say it was a passing phase. Did you know in Hindu mythology, since you're a student of history and Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth, one of the myths is that the entire universe is the dance of Shiva, and Shankar is another name for Shiva. So it's like the entire universe is really a movement, a dance in
absolutely.
space and time. And when we are able to embrace it as a dance, with all the different emotions. It's not like it's always a joyful dance. So you can have an Ananda Tanda, a very happy dance. Or you can have Patal, like anger and fear and fury. To be able to embrace all of life through all of the challenges is not easy. And I've seen you do that. I've seen many sides of you because we've known each other for 12 years. And it's a joy to be able to witness that, to be present to that. So, very interesting, Krista. You've been doing so many interesting things. And where do you see yourself going forward in terms of, I won't even use the word post-pandemic because this is very much a part of our journey. There's no post-pandemic. This is
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my personal hope I'm going to say first, my hope for the world post-pandemic is, I hope that this is a wake-up call, especially for local sustainability. There's so many countries that really ship their food out. They make cash crops for other countries. Uh, there's a lot of pyramid pyramid action where if you pull something out and then people can go into deeper states of poverty. I heard the statistic 55,000 people are going into severe poverty every month during the pandemic. And in the last 10 years we've done so much work to get people out of severe poverty. There's been huge, as I know that your wife is works in the poverty alleviation field. So we've done so much collectively and so all of that work that we're doing is unfortunately, it's just so hard to witness. I mean, I guess I would just say the grief is like the first thing that comes to mind. Wow, there's so much grief right now. But I really hope that people can see that we need we need local sustainability and also a better plan for climate change. We need a plan for other things like this happening. I think someone was saying our economy is like a boat where if it stops it sinks. And so how do we make our economy really sustainable? How do we make our economy so it's not just based on growth all the time? And that's really the problem with the economic model that we have is it's just dependent on it. It's like a hungry monster, a caterpillar, you could call it. Hopefully we'll be a butterfly someday that always needs more and more and more. So there's some really fundamental questions that we're asking ourselves. I really strongly believe that the most important thing we can do is try to unify a collective global movement that's transnational for the good, that supports sustainability that supports helping other countries that maybe have bad ingredient. There's a lot of chemical pollution. I mean, people just way underestimate. There's in so many countries you can't even get bio products. And it's like, how can we make all these? It's like this. That's the problem. It's like this great puzzle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you go, how can you solve this puzzle? Like, can't we get can't we make, we can put something in Mars or the moon. Why can't we make something other than plastic that can hold things? I mean, really, like.
I know. It's funny because we talk about sending or settling on Mars, even colonizing Mars, and we can barely even take care of Mother Earth. And, one of the things I appreciate about you, from the day we met, you always talked about everything, the web of life together. There are many people who like to slice and dice and separate things out. And I was like, Krista, you're thinking about everything. And I go, yeah, because everything is here. It's not like it's separate. So whether it's music and dance in the context of Mother Earth and the environment, in the context of inner awakening, in the context of community, in the context of sacred economics, because we cannot just talk about buying these things. You can buy a lot of things, but it costs. And then again, it's yet another pyramid where everything just goes to the top. But to be able to do all this together has been, I feel your dream about this global community and the idea of bringing people together is now more relevant than ever. And because we could not do it face to face during so-called old normal times, now it's happening online. I'm on the other side of the globe right now in India, and you're in Santa Cruz, California. Before it was FOMO, fear of missing out, and now it's FOZO, fear of zooming out. So there's always something missing, but now we know that it is possible to reach out around the
Yeah.
world. And my next stop is going to be in Africa to be able to go and see what it's like, the challenges, the poverty, as well as the tribal instinct and the music and the dance. And I'm going to keep in mind that we cannot separate these and slice them as separate problems, but to see the whole thing together, including the five elements and the earth and the water and everything. What do you suggest? How does young people or anybody who's going through these challenges, how can they find meaning in their life at this time?
I think that, the path is always within. You talk about the most beautiful journey I ever took was the path from the head to the heart. And it still remains true. I came upon a circle of seniors in high school the other day at the beach, and they had missed their graduation. And they say every life has a great grief, and great challenge, and so our young people today are being greatly challenged, and in that I think will be the answer to what they need to do. And I hope that young people can become energized and they might say, well, how can I help? I mean, my answer to that is, let's create a network of eco-villages all over the world and plug into NGOs and get active in learning good skills. It's like, if you're bored, if you have nothing to do, like, learn basic electric, learn basic plumbing. If you're a woman, learn how to work the water heater and hook it up. Learn, go to people around you and learn practical skills for people around you. Engage with, massage, just like really take advantage of what's around you. One of my hopes is that I came across this really great model that's an international trade directory and international eco-village directory that is linked through a blockchain currency. So basically, it's like a system, and it's like an organization of people trading a currency, trading a coin, that you can go and stay on any of the partnership eco-villages. I'm encouraging people to develop eco-villages, and I have a great definition of it right here. Human scale, full featured settlement in which human activities are harmlessly integrated into the natural world in a way that is supportive of healthy human development and can be successfully continued into the indefinite future. And I think that's, permaculture is, permanent agriculture, something I became interested in when I was in college. And then I got to go live on an ecovillage in New Zealand. And I got to see, what is this thing? People think of like hippies commune, but the thing is, there's been a lot of lessons learned. That was a long time ago. And nobody forms a commune and shares all of their belongings and their savings unless it's a cult. We're talking about a return to the village. We're talking about how to set up a system where it's not so vulnerable, where you're within a community group. You have an orchard that you can all draw from. You have more people to form lasting relationships with. And then you're using nature, you're growing food. You're actually growing food, right? And then you have people that are good at different things in the eco-village. And that doesn't mean you can't work or be a part of a city. And I also feel by spreading out, for example, through California, forming eco-villages, now with the advantages of technology, we can create systems like local solar systems, solar energy, where people are plugging their cars in. You don't even need to go for gas. You also have the future of medicine, which looks a lot more personalized and distributed through technology. One model that's being predicted in medical care is, more robotic medical care, basically, where there's a lot of things that can be tested, done, looked at remotely. Blood work can be ordered remotely. There's a lot of ways in which the ideal of kind of spreading out and having a lot more space, and then also protecting us from pandemics in the future, or things like that, might be able to be more better maintained with less centralized areas. But yeah, eco-villages are awesome. So those are the things that I'm looking to in Ecuador, or wherever it is that people are drawn to. Brazil, I personally feel very magnetized to Central and South America, especially because it's local. And I feel excited about, I wish that, this is a side note, but I wish one of the I actually got to tell Marianne Williamson, mentioned to her that I thought a great solution for immigration dynamics is to, which part of the problem with, people are coming to the US because there's instability in their countries, right? So, but, million people coming in per year. And so Americans are pushing back, saying, no, that's enough. We can't do it. And yet there's refugees. So, making sanctuary cities with partnering with Mexico, partnering with Guatemala. Here's a good example of a creative way to think about a problem that's not being talked about by our political leaders, that's so obvious. You just take used recycled materials, you help people create permaculture, eco-village like cities. You fund, it costs less, you fund 3 cities, you put a university center, you make them training centers, you give people the tools, you build the houses, and then you can say, hey, look, volunteers, we are going to teach all you college kids that don't have anything to, this is after COVID, we're going to teach people to do the basic electricity, to make the orchards, to take care of each other, to, pair the old people with the young people, to, so there's a lot of, that's a side note about Central and South America. But I do believe that, part of our destiny as America is affecting them so much. I mean, from, we have to look back. I mean, like Donald Trump just wants to say, hey, look, it's not a problem. Look, these are other countries. These are not America. But it's like, we have to take responsibility. I mean, that's part of our coming to terms with having the ability to have the scope of human history laid out before our eyes, available in our pocket. I mean, the ramification of this is we get to see what happened, right? And what happened is Europeans came, they abused each other, they messed each other up, they enslaved each other, they killed each other, they went through the Middle Ages, right? Serfdom, all of it. And then they took it abroad, right? And then they did the same abuse and worse and colonized South and Central America. My point is, through religious indoctrination, making everybody Christian, telling people they can't use birth control, the Catholic Church still to this day has not said. I mean, I went and spent time in Guatemala, and I sat in a hut with, practically a shack with a woman who had 7 children, could barely, offer me avocado in the tropics because they were so poor. And she says, I said, do you have access to birth control? And the little bit of Spanish that I know. And she's like, we don't use birth control, I mean, the Catholic
against
Church,
our religion. Yeah.
The Catholic Church, I mean, like, so that's just an example of, like, and our drug addiction from the US is driving all this violence. So anyway, I feel like, the answer is a lot more complex and needs to come from a lot more creativity and really grounded solutions than our political leaders are talking about.
Sorry for interrupting you there, but your vision is so clear, Krista. I had a deep conversation with Chip Conley about a month and a half ago. And Chip Conley, the head of Airbnb strategy and the person who also serves on the board of Burning Man, he mentioned something he's doing. Instead of creating a Burning Man in the Nevada desert and then dismantling it every year, imagine this. Each year, the same people go and create an eco-village. And there's no dismantling. It just stays on. So they've already created one in Baja, is the Modern Elder Academy. And the next one is probably going to be Bali and probably India. And exactly as you said, you can have 3 to 5 for the cost of one in the United States. And it's not even like Americans going to create it, but it's co-created with the locals, just like what happens in Burning Man. Everybody pitches together, becomes a member, and you could track some of these things using cryptocurrency and all that. But more than anything else, the more we share, the more we give, the more value it creates. And your dream is actually happening. And I'm quite sure many people, I was talking to Bertola from Sweden and talked to many others in Israel, like Ruben Shalef and many others. And they're all, there's ideas of doing that in the Kabbalah and what do you call the kibbutz in Israel, and to be able to do that in every area. And like what you said, people can decide to travel between these little towns, eco-villages. So it's not like they're imprisoned in the eco-village, but there will be some who like to settle down. And there are phases in our life when we go on that hero's journey. The mythical hero's journey can be a real hero's journey. So my hope is that when we come out of, or as we are coming out of this pandemic, people will become more prudent and not just have disposable things, including Burning Man, but really let it flow around the world. And before we try to colonize Mars, let's at least get back into our heart and do things on Earth. And so what you talked about more than 10 years ago is actually now slowly starting to happen. And I'm really feeling, I'm like, you were a visionary more than 10 years ago. And so are the people who wrote Small is Beautiful, Schumacher, and more recently, all the people who have worked on the idea of Small is Beautiful. And it's actually happening.
Yeah,
so
there's definitely a common vision. And, the crucial element is working, like you said, working with local people. You have to, walk in we say walk the path of beauty, or, walk gently. Like, you have to be doing it in the right way so that it's not just repeating a traumatic pattern of invading, or there's so much healing process that we're doing with all that's happened individually, collectively.
Yeah. Well, such a beautiful, it's so amazing to be able to discuss all these things on the opposite sides of the world. And I want to remind people who are watching us, if you have any questions, if you have any, if you want to continue the dialogue, We will provide you with links to many of the things Krista is mentioning, including her Facebook page and other places where you can reach out to her or to me directly. And also, if there's a need, we can continue this dialogue again once more and more things start happening. Krista has always been up to something, and every year something new comes out of it. And this time it's a much bigger vision, whether it's a movie or it's the eco villages. I see it happening, and it's not just ideas. I used to think like, oh my God, she's like Pollyanna, but now I'm finding you're not Pollyanna out there thinking ideal, but you're actually thinking with your feet on the ground, rooted, totally rooted as you did the prayer. Would you like to conclude also with another prayer, maybe, Krista?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is called Don't Let the Sorrow Make You Cold, and this is actually the debut. So here we go. Don't let the sorrow make you cold. Don't let the sadness make you forget that you're gold. For we all are made of the same star. And why have we traveled so far? It's not to fold from a heavy load. It's not to doubt with a tear in your eye for a lack of singing lullabies. No, we don't fold. Come together to break the mold. And the dreamers keep on standing tall, even though you've seen it all. For love is in season, and love is the reason. And though it all may be changing, the earth may do some rearranging. Yeah, maybe a shadow show, but somewhere inside me I know it's gonna be breaking through the rainbow. And the great remedy is holding hands to where we're walking to. Yeah, it's a sad world, and it's always been a sad world. But we got a light that shines, reminds us we're champions of time. Aligned in God's time. I'll take your hand and you take mine. For love is in season, and love is the reason. And though it all may be changing, the earth may do some rearranging. Yeah, maybe a shadow show, but somewhere inside me I know we're gonna break through the rainbow. That's right. Every woman, every man, every child, grandmother gonna understand that the plan is to stand and take each other's hand. 'Cause the rainbow, and we need each other to behold. Storm of history as
to go. Eyes gentle, heart open, flow, align with the earth and will grow. We come together to trust, and come together we must. Don't let the sorrow make you cold. Don't let the sadness make you forget that you're gold. For we all are made of the same star. And why have we traveled so far?
That was amazing. That was totally amazing. And I always like how you bring in spontaneity. Even if you have practiced the song, you always bring in that element of surprise. And I truly appreciate that about you, Krista.
Well, thank you, Shankar. Thank you for letting me sing that, and thank you for whoever's watching. That's one of our divine technologies to use is music and dance. You know, just really, and the dance is like allowing that. There was a good Joanna Macy quote, who's a beautiful environmentalist who's an elder now, and she's a wonderful person to look into, Joanna Macy, and she talks about the tears that we shed, that we don't shed, get solidified in the body. And so I think of it like dance being like wringing out a sponge, and if you feel too shy to dance, I totally get it. You can dance alone. It's not about what you look like. It's about allowing yourself the space to have the meditation with the movement. So even if it's just, whatever it is, and also the voice, the voice of like, especially nowadays, there's so much stress. So just allowing, the anger and the rage to really express, like an animal, shake off the adrenaline, the stress. Like here in Santa Cruz, we just had a major fire. I'm gonna probably cry if I start talking about it. 70,000 acres burned just north of on the north side of our town. And we had friends lose homes, a huge amount of forest. And we didn't know how bad it would be. We didn't know if it would just take out everything. Talk about stress. It's been like Armageddon around here. It's been in California, there's like 300 something fires. So and that's another thing for the visualization, lots of water, lots of, at nighttime I do calming. And one of the things that helped me was every morning, no matter how I felt, I'd say, thank you, universe, for your love. Thank you, universe, for your love. And, just a lot of meditation about, harmony within the body. You can use the rainbow, you can use circle of light, like pink light, and the more, or whatever color light, the more that you can visualize it and imagine all of your, I think my organs are happy, and this is Qigong too, like the ancient practice of Qigong. That's a beautiful place to start too. Who was it, Rumi, that talked about the submission to a practice? That was one of the things I was going to talk about with mythology is part of the process of maturation is submission to a force greater than ourselves. And I would say that part of the maturity of submitting to a movement practice or a physical practice like Qigong is like, okay, I don't feel like doing this right now, but I'm going to freaking do it anyway. I'm going to breathe up. You do this standing, I can even show you. This is what I've been doing every day for like years, but I'm still a beginner at Qigong. You just, like holding a tree, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine like a pillar of light, or I'm thinking about green right now. And then you take from the ground, you imagine your spine, like light shooting rainbows, shooting up your spine. You exhale, out. Inhale, and it should almost feel like effortless flying, And you can just thank your body, these simple things, thank you, my bones. I'm envisioning saying, I have compassion for everyone in my life, period. I have compassion for myself. And so those repetitive mantras of positivity are very, our subconscious is listening to everything we think and everything that we say, right?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, we cannot remind ourselves enough. In fact, most forms of meditation in the East also have the origin in remembering. For example, dhyan, the word in Sanskrit, dhyan means paying attention. Now, attention to what? Attention to who we really are. Now, who are we really? So we have to let go of all the junk we have accumulated. And then in the process of letting go, we go back to who we really are. So we go back to what life really is about and why are we here. And same thing, the Sufis call it zikr, which means again remembrance or remembering. Again, about who, like they call it ruh, the essence of life. And what was it before even the essence appeared? What did it look like before even it took birth or appeared? And
Yeah.
the mystery of life. And all these practices are so rooted in reality as well as the apparent reality, not the plastic that we wear and the plastic of our hair. I had to let go of my hair because I cut my hair wrong, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. I don't have to be hung up with hair. And then the next thought was, oh my God, I'm going to be into doing a lot of interviews bald. Like,
I like it.
Every interview will have different hairstyle.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like reclaiming our identity beyond the personality is the game, but like we're so up against nature because like even in the monkey kingdom, looking at how monkeys interact and stuff, it's so intense. And we're so motivated by the social hierarchy. And unfortunately, our society doesn't really set us up. In the West, we have this we're bequeathed like this ethos of like the individual above all else, the hero that wins. And so that's part of like the American dream for us here is like, we don't have like the Asian model, the Eastern model of like, you're happy in your family and you're a good person. You've succeeded, man. We have like, well, if you drive a BMW or a Mercedes and you have a lot of money and, whatever X, Y, and Z is, you are successful and you have a lot of people that see you or at the top of your field. So we're up against a lot of pressure, and then we internalize that metric for success, and it's really hard to move beyond that. It's critical to move beyond that though, because that's what is really our true happiness. Happiness is like a bouquet of right action.
I'm so grateful that we've done this, and it was almost like in two stages. We started with a prayer and went into where are the problems, and then we went with another prayer and we went deeper and deeper. And maybe it's time to close and say, how can we continue to serve? How can we serve the world? How can we serve the world within? And how can we serve Mother Earth? All of it together, they're not separate.
Yeah. How can we walk the beauty path, the path of purification of the heart and the mind? So just may we have the courage to know that our ancestors have been through hard things, and we're going through hard things, and the earth will provide for us. And we have the power to listen to our intuition and know how to walk forward. And it's a time of trust. And so we can call on the trust in life and know that the scope of our life on earth is bigger than we might think of it. It's this human journey is what we're a part of, and think of it as a whole human journey, and understand how we can help the entire picture together as well as ourselves. Oh. Well, thank you so much, Shankar.
Thank you, Krista, for joining us. And I know I was waiting for this time, and I'm so glad you decided to do it at perhaps the most crucial time in Santa Cruz. We were waiting for the right moment, and after all the fires and the pandemic, it's really amazing that you made the time to talk at a time when everything looked a little less hopeful, and to bring hope. And to everybody who's listening, we will continue this journey. And please write to us. Please tell us what you think. You can write to Krista directly, of course. And if there's enough interest, we can do another of these sessions with Krista. So
yeah, I would love to hear from you. And I'll be starting a podcast soon called The Mythic Huntress, and it's going to be exploring the works of Manly P. Hall, the esoteric historian, and Joseph Campbell.
And I'll join you there. It'll be so amazing. And I know that some of my mentors are also a part of it. So it'll be really amazing. It'll be really amazing.
I
Please
would
stay
love
in
to
touch.
meet your friends. Yeah, I would love to meet your friends. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you. Thank you. And please stay in touch.